Well, we've heard this rumour a few times. This is not the first time we've had this. But apparently, the Mandalorian creator Jon Favreau is done. He's not working on Star Wars anymore. Which, you know what, like if you'd seen the last season of The Mandalorian, probably not a massive surprise. This rumour isn't going to come as a shock. You know, you're going to go, oh yeah, that makes sense, because the season just gone was not great at all. And it didn't seem to have Jon Favreau's narrative behind it. It felt lacking. Felt very, very different from the previous seasons. Put it that way. And then as well, you know, Dave Filoni, Kathleen Kennedy in all interviews at Star Wars Celebration thanked Dave Filoni. Nothing to do with Jon Favreau. There was no thanks of Jon Favreau anywhere. Not like he's, you know, had sort of led the resurgence of Star Wars on the small screen. No. Nothing to do with him. It was really odd. So this rumour is not a massive surprise, and like I said, it's been doing the rounds for a while for a reason, because I think there's some water behind it. You know, there's some legitimacy there. But let's take a look at this. Hit subscribe if you're new here. Stay up to date on the world of pop culture and movie news. A new rumour claims, it's not new, it's been going around for a while, that the Mandalorian executive producer and creator Jon Favreau was the casualty of a rumoured Lucasfilm civil war, and he is no longer working on Star Wars. Now the new rumour is from friend of the channel Tom Connors over at Midnight's Edge, and also Midnight's Edge After Dark, and this was on their podcast Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Side note as well, for those that don't know, Tom Connors, as well as Andre from Midnight's Edge, are regularly appearing on my podcast, the Hcast, that I run live every Tuesday and Thursday. So you can check that out today at 7 PM UK time on the channel. And there's a second channel link down below in the description box. Mistakes Reviews Live Archives. Check it out. But anyway, Connor's revelation came from a super chat, basically, from A.E. Hellstrom, who asserted Dave Filoni is a corporate creative and doesn't have what it takes to save Star Wars. Therefore, his creation, Ahsoka, doesn't have what it takes either. I doubt Favreau can save Star Wars. And Connors replied, well, he's not there anymore. Pretty much, he's gone. What chance he had is over. And, you know, a lot of people have poked fun at the Civil War, but guess what? He was the casualty. Let's be real. Yeah. I mean, I can believe it, genuinely. The last season was just a bloody mess. Absolute mess. Oh, that Darksaber? Yeah, it's going nowhere. Oh, that Mythosaur? Yeah, it's going nowhere. So many things were just weirdly thrown out and then not used. It was very strange. So, Culture Casino, again, another chap that's on my podcast, said, the change in direction was quite obvious. Mandalorian went sideways. Boba Fett went sideways. All the slate of Mandoverse shows went sideways. You can see what was happening. And again, Civil War, no Civil War, whatever you want to call it, you can see where everything pivoted. Favreau's no longer there, which means the last best chance for Disney to salvage Lucasfilm is gone. Lucasfilm's long gone. Long gone. I mean, they've butchered everything that they have. Star Wars, a dead brand. Indiana Jones is losing hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office now. That's dead. They butchered Willow. It's all gone. It's dead. They've got nothing else left to go. And then Connors would say a little bit more about Favreau being sidelined. Says, the short version is Favreau was able to operate when Lucasfilm Kathleen Kennedy was being distracted by Blood and Bone. The moment Chapek made the worst decision he ever made in office, and I mean that ever more so than some of the other stupid crap he's done, he told Kathy, get the F out of there and get back over here and worry about Lucasfilm. Their normal stuff like Willow and Indiana Jones and Star Wars. And that was the moment that the Civil War ended, because it came with the final blow with the firing of Gina Carano, and from that moment on, everything unravelled. A lot of people use Gina Carano as the pivot point for sort of Lucasfilm Mando and things like that. It's when they, I guess Lucasfilm drew their line in the sand on what they consider, not what I consider, but what they consider expressly politically motivated elements. And that's how they drew their line in the sand. It was on a political spectrum, which is dumb, you know, for something that should be common ground for everyone, you know, a fandom, they chose to push a sort of a political narrative and treat some people on certain sides of the aisle, i.e. Gina Carano, who wasn't right-wing but is now, in a different way than they would others like Pedro Pascal, who is expressly left-wing and has voiced some very, very, very interesting things on social media. So anyway, they continued further, Tom did. What was finally tied up because Jon Favreau had come in and taken all these tethered ends that were left over from Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy had left him with. And he continued. He actually managed to tie them up enough to where fans were kind of coming back on board. There was some goodwill and it was all destroyed in one fell swoop. And I know at the time some of us like, well, we don't think that she's going to be. No, she was it. That was the moment that I believe everything fell apart because Favreau couldn't go forward with what he had. So he just basically mopped up his mess and he left. That's what's happened. And that was how Star Wars died. So, I mean, this is the rumour. It's been floating around for a really long time. WDW Pro has discussed it. Said, you know, an ongoing battle over at Lucasfilm's direction. Kathleen Kennedy and Favreau, they all fight over the studio. It's fairly well known at this point that the beef between Kennedy and Iger is real, given that Iger essentially ignored her in his memoirs. It's also hard to lose sight of how many projects Kennedy has seen fail at Lucasfilm. This is true. Like, regardless whether you believe this rumor or not, that is true. While Favreau seemingly struck it out the park with The Mandalorian, a series for Disney Plus that even Iger was giving creative suggestions for and taking notes on each episode. I mean, bad. Kennedy's essentially got on her way time after time, outplaying Iger. Even if she's been hammered by segments of the fans, most of her hiring and developing strong loyalty within her brand. So there you have it. I mean, this is interesting for a few reasons. It does seem... I mean, I can believe he's gone. We've taken up, you know, we've spoken about this for quite a while, to be fair. You know, now, Jon Favreau has sort of addressed things like this. So, on the lead up to Mandalorian Season 3, he told Esquire Middle East that there was no studio interference in his decision to have Grogu reunite with Din Djarin in the Book of Boba Fett, despite separating them at the end of Mando Season 2. And he said, no, I take full responsibility for everything people like or don't like in this show. There's no outside pressure on me from studio, Lucasfilm, Disney, anyone. There's pressure from within on whether or not something feels right. We challenge each other on whether something feels like it's authentic to Star Wars and if it feels like it's consistent with things that came before. A lot of what you're seeing is us embracing the complications that come with the choices that we make in our storytelling. I mean, that just sounds like bollocks, though. But never mind. And he was asked to elaborate, and he said, well, for example, we established in this show that the Mandalorians don't remove their helmets, and then, but then in the Clone Wars, everybody's helmets are coming off all the time. Instead of running from that or sweeping that under the rug, it became inspiration for storylines and character interactions. And as you start to set things up and let them play out, there are certain inevitable things that start to happen. Also having the Mandalorian as the caretaker for a Jedi with their checkered past as cultures. Interesting. Look, at the end of the day, I can believe he's gone just from the tonal change from Season 3 to everything else. I mean, it was just batshit crazy. Like, such a difference. So is Jon Favreau gone from Lucasfilm and Star Wars? Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it's not a stretch, is it? Now you got Dave Filoni that everyone seems to love, whilst he's having a circle jerk off to Ahsoka. Look, we'll see how it goes. I think Favreau was the man that you needed to keep on side. I don't think Filoni's the God's gift to Star Wars that people believe he is. But hey, what do you guys think? That's what I really want to know. So drop your thoughts down below. Cheers, guys. Take care.